Today we're here to talk to the Workday and Apttus panel about pairing cloud ERP with cloud quote to cash. On this stage, I counted, I've approximately 60 to 75 years of experience in quote to cash, ERP, and cloud solutions. I thought these are the best people to tell you how to get better outcomes for your subscription customers. Our panelists from Workday, John, who's the Vice President of their Industries and Software Alliances Group. Mark David, who leads the Industry and Product Strategy. And Karan Yadav, who's Industry Leader for Technology. And from Apttus, you'll be hearing from Gope. If Gope's not a familiar name yet, he leads our product and verticals segment, and a team under him now is working on solutions for various industries. And that's me. I manage partners and alliances on behalf of Apttus. That's the normal safe harbor statement. Anything that we say here, though is valid, is thought leadership. And with that, I hand it over to John. John, I know a lot of people here have heard about Workday briefly, but if you could tell us about the depth and breadth of your human capital and financial solutions, and how do customers use them? And also, I'd like to hear about, I know you are an Apttus customer, so how do you use Apttus at Workday?
Yeah, absolutely, thank you. So Workday is, we're located here in the East Bay, for those of you that are familiar with Workday, but we focus on administrative applications around a full suite of financials and HCM applications. And so we have close to 1,500 customers today across our suite of products. We have everything built on a single unified architecture that's architected completely for the cloud. And so our founders began with a clean sheet of paper and really focused on, how do we architect the next generation solution for HCM and financials, analytics, purely for the cloud. So every Workday customer that we have, they're all in the same version all the time. And we have a lot of configuration built into the product. So we have about 400 business processes across HCM and financials, over 200,000 variations of those business processes now in production that are based on configuration without any customization. So very excited to be here today, announcing our partnership with Apttus. We feel like this is really a perfect fit for the industries that Mark and Karan will talk about that we focus on, and we've seen a lot of demand from our customers come in here. Workday is actually a customer of Apttus, and so we use the Apttus contract lifecycle management and configure price and quote capability within our quote to cash solution at Workday. So we've been a customer for several years now, very happy customer, very productive customer. In fact, if you follow Workday, our last earnings announcement, we just announced our earnings under the new 606 revenue recognition rules. And so that was a combination of having that capability built into Workday, but also having all of our contract and CPQ capabilities seamlessly integrated internally in a quote to cash process between Apttus and Workday. So very happy to be here, and thanks, Sonia, for having us.
Thank you, John. So you lead the technology part, software partner relationships at Workday, and I believe you choose your partners carefully and various in terms of expertise. How do you go about that process?
Yeah, and so our software partner program, we have around 70 partners today as part of our program within Workday. And so what we're looking for are things that provide an affinity with Workday and Workday customers. First of all, just having good joint customers and interest there from our go-to-market standpoint that Karan will talk about. So, Workday, as I mentioned, is an Apttus customer. We also have a lot of customers that run Apttus and Workday already. JDA Software, CEB, and others who are joint customers. The other thing that we look for is just a high degree of flexibility and deployment of the solutions in a pure cloud-based model. And as I mentioned, the configuration around Workday, that's something that we really admired around Apttus as we've seen and used the product, just the degree of flexibility. Also, just being able to scale in the cloud, and that's something that I can't really underemphasize. Workday put a lot of focus on bringing our applications to market to go to the largest companies on the planet, and that's what we've seen from Apttus as far as not only being able to deliver a strong solution, cost-effective solution in the mid-enterprise, but also in the large enterprise area.
Got it. So, Gop, I have a so what question for you. Some of us who were in the keynote yesterday heard Kamal mention that Workday would be here today. Now, why should Apttus customers and prospects care about this partnership? So why is Apttus and Workday partnership important to the people in the room?
Yeah, thanks, Sonia. First, I want to say thank the Workday team for being here. But more importantly, I think just for the thought leadership and the deep experience they've brought to Apttus in terms of how we look at the world. I think the answer to your question really sort of goes back to the transformation we're seeing across the industry landscape in terms of how companies are approaching how they think about their customers, right? We're all used to living in a very product-centric world, which was defined by SKUs. Right? You had SKUs with specific price points. Sometimes you bundle those SKUs, but effectively orchestrated a one-time sale. And then you were consumed by potentially going and finding new greenfield segments and customers to go sell more products to. The new normal is one where you're effectively thinking about a customer where very often your installed base is going to drive 60 to 70% of your recurring business. It's about finding value that you can add to that customer base over time. It's about growing and maintaining that customer value. But to do that, you have to think outside of that box of quoting or the catalog or the pricing engine. You have to think about how financials, you have to think about how revenue processes, you have to think about how your enterprise measurements as a business across your customers, your channels, etc., feeds back into how you engage with those customers, whether it's the first time or the second time or every single time. And when you think about that in the broadest context, I think the single defining learning for us as we interacted with the Workday team, in addition to sort of understanding the scope of what they did, was finding a point of commonality, which is the contract. I think you would agree that the contract defines, especially going back to a point that John made earlier, in the sort of post ASC 606 world as it sort of comes to play out, is all about understanding what constitutes a contractual agreement with your partner, right? What are those elements? What is the price that's going to be allocated to those elements, and how are you going to sort of collect and recognize your revenue against those elements over the lifetime of your engagement with that customer? And that's where I think we find a tremendous amount of interplay in terms of some of the bullet points you have on this slide here, right? Which is moving from product-based sales to this new construct where services and products are seamlessly coming together. It's sort of this amorphous thing that we call an offering, right? Where as a company, you no longer have the luxury of saying, I have Bond here, an MFG Pro there, and I'm dating myself, right? Maybe Oracle EBS there. I need to go embrace the cloud, but I don't want to go have one cloud here and one cloud there. I want these clouds to speak seamlessly to each other, right? From contact to contract to cash, so as to speak. And I really need to have my arms around my contracts, whether I'm a salesperson, a marketing person, the CFO, or potentially an operations person in the background. So a little bit of a roundabout answer, but I think that's how I see that sort of the whole being greater than the sum of our respective parts.
Gotcha.
I just want to say that when you mentioned 75 years of experience, we don't plan to allocate the years to the audience as far as between us. I don't think anybody wants to volunteer that.
I just switched into my private disco mode here, so I didn't hear that.
I will not share that information. My next question is to you, Karan. You work with technology industry cloud clients, and Gop just talked about how cloud is the way to go forward. So what do you observe in the cloud-first approach in technology industry, and maybe talk about what you see in the market in other industries?
Okay, thanks, Sonia. I think the biggest part, if you think about all the components within the technology industry or any other industry that's getting disrupted by products or the digital transformation, if you will, the one key component, obviously we see all these elements of continuous disruption, growth, fight for talent, but if you are a market that's disrupting an industry or disrupting a marketplace, or you are getting disrupted, you are in the constant process of thinking about your products and thinking about a market. So think about the interplay of new products, new markets, or new markets, existing products. And that interplay, if you go talk to our customers, whether they're medium enterprise or large enterprise, it's typically, about 3/4 of them are in some kind of a process of thinking about, okay, how do I think about a new product and launch it into the marketplace? Now back to Gop's comment on contract being the centerpiece of that process. I think the whole idea of contract to cash being actually very critical to that whole process, because if I don't have a flexibility and able to manage existing contracts, creating new products, adding new SKUs within my quote to cash process, and being able to get to market sooner and faster than the competitor, it becomes a huge disadvantage for me as an organization. That is probably true not just for technology industry, that's probably true for, as I said, any company with digital products. And that kind of lays back really well into the idea of disruption and growth as well, because unless and until you interplay with the ideas of markets and growths, you cannot have growth around your product, because then you're doing a repetitive process of really adding to your existing product. And that really is fascinating, and that's where the discussions come around, okay, how do I seamlessly process that?
So if I look at that slide construct now, you're saying that our customers are using clouds from various providers or various solutions, and you see they need to think about seamlessly bringing them together.
Yeah, so as Gop said, it's gone are the days of me going to one vendor and saying, give me everything that you got, and I'll fix everything through one single solution. And we know that there's a reason that paradigm doesn't exist anymore, because cloud really gives you the ability to innovate faster and better than anyone else, right? And as a result, you see best of breed plays in Salesforce as a CRM company, in Apttus being a quote to cash leader, and Workday being HR and financials leader. So it's not about selling a particular SKU and say, hey, Mr. Customer, take our HR and financials, and you go figure out how do you want to interplay it with the ecosystem. And that is probably why we are very careful in looking at our set of customers and partners and say, okay, which are the partners that are critical to the process of really making our customers' life easier. And Apttus really comes to fore in so many different industries, because we believe that for our financials to really be the seamless process of being able to automate the front-end component of contract to cash. And that's why I believe this piece should be, it's our responsibility for our customers to make it as simple and easy as possible from a deployment perspective, and that's why we are here.
Absolutely, sounds good. And so Mark, we heard all the strategy talk, but customers and prospects want to know, how will it really work? So that's the question I know your team's answers inside Workday. How will it really work?
Well, I think Gop is going to figure that out for us, isn't he? I think. But no, I talking about how we're going to execute this, so we brought together two really leading cloud solutions, and so it's been great working with the team at Apttus, and from a product perspective, we're very excited by this opportunity. When you looked at the Workday portfolio, Workday, we're very well known for our HCM and cloud ERP solution, and we saw that there's a glaring need around quote to cash. Customers were speaking to us in the term of quote to cash, and a couple of other things we kept on hearing from our customers. One was that even though the industries that Workday typically serves, we really focus more on those service-based industries. We're not into heavy-duty manufacturing industries, but even in those industries, there's a lot of dynamics. The omni-channel discussion is very key. You have services companies that are posting up analytics and market research and offering things on a subscription. You have aspects of the solution-based selling approach, and Gop and John and Karan have mentioned that as well too. So it's not just that you're selling a particular product, a particular subscription. On the Workday side, we really are focused not just on the HCM piece. I think a lot of people recognize Workday as an HCM solution in the cloud, but we have a very large financial management customer base. In fact, we scale more than any other ERP solution in the cloud for finance. So we have that. We've also invested a lot in our revenue reporting, revenue recognition capabilities. And in fact, we just, as was mentioned, was the first public cloud company to use ASC 606 in our quarterly reporting. So that's kind of created quite a bit of noise. And we also have planning capabilities where you're looking at like the financial, FP&A, people-based process. So when we have these large stacks of solutions, Gop had mentioned that we had to kind of come into where we're going to work together. What are we hearing from our customers? And we actually have the luxury, because Workday is a customer in this case, and we really focus on that revenue flow. And what we wanted to do is simplify those revenue flow pieces. So you see the elements up here, like multi-element arrangements. So if you have a solution that you're selling that's a combination of a product a subscription. We wanted to take that off the table. We wanted to simplify that process so you could transition out the quote into actually the revenue base and financial processes in the back end. If you're selling subscription, we're very excited about the partnership because this is really a full subscription management approach for us. You can set up the subscription in the front end piece, you can contract on it, you can quote that subscription, and then we can take that subscription information in our contract and then execute all the way down to final invoice and cash collection. A lot of companies are experimenting with usage, of course, right? Or they are actually using the usage side, or they might have services. So those revenue flows, what you're going to see with the integration is that we're attacking each one of those revenue flows and creating a consolidated approach. And the other part of this is that around that, there's a set of common data that we've analyzed between our solutions. We don't have the same data model, we don't necessarily speak always the same language, and we again want to simplify that for customers. Things like accounting information, things like customer data, product information, we're also going to include in the integration. So if you want to actually go to the next slide too, Sonia, I can give a little bit more granularity on this. So our first round of focus on integration between Apttus and Workday, we're going to really hit on the Apttus order to Workday contract transition. So here, like we do within Workday ourselves, we utilize Apttus CLM and CPQ, and Apttus is running the majority of our subscription business, and being a very large cloud solution, the scale and complexity, even though you look at us as just maybe an enterprise software company, each deal is very different, right? So the orders that come out of Apttus can be very configurable and very unique. So we want to take that information, that flow of that Apttus order. We will look at the asset in the future, so I think that is one thing we're interested in including in the integration as well too, but we're really kind of starting on that order transition part down to Workday. We'll take that into a Workday contract. So again, we're sort of aligning on our data model. And if you think about some of the common data elements there, you have the date information associated with the orders, pretty standard. You have the types of order lines, so it could be a ratable-based process that you're running through a subscription line item. Might be a one-time product sell. Again, we want to handle all those different line item types within the Workday side and bring that into our contract approach. And so what you'll basically see with the integration is a focus on that revenue, and then we're looking at these other additional use cases in the future as we expand the partnership.
Thank you, Mark. So, Gopa, I have two questions for this. Do you want to add anything to that Mark said about our contracts process? That's the first.
Yeah, that was extremely, I wish I'd recorded that explanation of the last couple of slides. Excellent. So I think what I'll do instead is maybe provide a sort of a slightly different perspective, maybe coming in from an industry standpoint. I did also want to call out a few folks in the audience here that we have the benefit of. Our product management team, Rajiv, Lokesh, Satish, and Chian here. I'd encourage any of you to sort of spend some time with them after the session to learn a little bit about how these blocks come together from an Apttus product perspective. But it's interesting, you know, there was an interesting headline earlier in the week. Some of you might have caught it. Hyundai just rolled out its electric car, the Iconic. The bigger news, however, was the fact that they are releasing that car as a subscription, right? Just think about it. The car industry is basically rolling out a car as a subscription product. So I think those classical boundaries are broken down. They include 30,000 hours of charging, maintenance, right? The car itself. You can upgrade, downgrade, you can cancel, you could potentially trade in, trade out to different models over the time frame of the subscription. How is that any different from a software program, right? So it's no longer about is cloud ERP or cloud financials right for a subscription business. It is right for every business. So that's, I just want to sort of come back to that point based on some of the details Mark talked about. If I look at medical device companies, another very conservative industry, right? They have been trying to play around with this for a long, long time. You know, they've tried to amortize equipment over consumables and disposables. They've tried to do reagent rental models, operational financing, leasing. Each and every time, it's a 6 to 9 month investment in ERP to get it upgraded, to be able to tackle it, or along comes a promotion or rebate program and I'm stuck with accruals. You know, I've got to basically now figure out how to do billing for my setup, for my maintenance. I want to go sell preventive, you know, an additional warranty. That's a different system. This is about making that all go away, right? The end state is where I can come up with a product, put it in a catalog, come up with a marketing view of it, a sales view of it, potentially a technical or implementation view of my catalog. I'm able to quote it. Transparently, Apttus and Workday work to basically send, once the customer has accepted the deal, all the order line items, all of the billing, the revenue, right, schedules that are required for Workday to go ahead and do rev rec, to do billing, you know, and have that information come back in there. And for that medical device company, that's the holy grail. I mean, they can keep their legacy business processes, their industry constructs, but adapt them into this very kind of fluid model where it's persona driven. Each person works with his part of the process, consumes the data he or she needs, might benefit from additional things like machine learning and or interactions with natural language agents, but we do all of that heavy lifting transparently through the integration that we are investing in here. So I think it's really about transformation to a large extent of your fundamental business model versus thinking that, you know, it only applies to you if you're in a subscription economy, so as to speak. So I just wanted to sort of provide that perspective on what you just took us through.
Thank you, Gop. With that, we're almost out of time, but I do want to leave you with the contact details of all the speakers on the panel. I'm sure you'll use their wisdom and expertise. And I want to point out our product team on the left, Satish, Gop, and Rajiv. They have been working with the Workday product team for a while, and if you have any questions, they'll be the right people to reach out to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you.